Hey everyone, it's been a while since I recorded and posted up a new vlog, um, so I'll do a little backtracking here. So in January I had surgery, and I think the last vlog I made was 4 weeks later when I started my first chemo. Um, that was back in February. We're now mid-May. Today's May 16th. And I actually just came home from the hospital today. Um, so, starting my second chemo, so 7 weeks after surgery, I noticed my cancer marker was rising, and it just, proceeded to get worse each consecutive cycle. Um, I started having a lot of issues, so last Tuesday, on Tuesday the 11th, or the 12th, I went in for some CT scans of my pelvis and my, chest, with and without contrast. And they said it'd be about 5 days before my doctor heard anything. And just, about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours after the appointment, I get a call from my chemo nurse that I needed to go to emergency room and check in. If I didn't feel safe driving down to University of Irvine Medical Center in Orange, I can go to any local hospital. And I was like, I feel fine, so I'll drive down there. And it was because they did a preliminary reading or whatever. They saw that there was a clot in my right lung. So I went down and checked in at emergency. My husband dropped me off. With all the COVID, no, they're not allowing anyone there with you. So he dropped me off. He made sure, I got checked in okay. And then he left when they took me back. It's okay. And I was back. I went back initially and I checked in. They did an EKG, my gynoc weren't there yet. So they got me checked in, did all that, sent me back to an ER bed, back in the ER in a private room, and proceeded to get the IVs started. The emergency room nurse couldn't access my port, so they placed an IV here in this arm and my right arm. And just as he had gotten that placed, my gynoc team came in, all five of them. So the cancer has come back, and I have a 2-inch tumor at the top of my vaginal canal, what they call it, right at the cusp, and multiple deposits throughout my abdomen. So they admitted me up into the oncology ward, which is the 7th floor there at UCI, and mainly at that point to get the clot, but also to start running tests. On the UCI, they then sent me down for a CAT scan there, a PET scan there, because all they had was the written record from where I'd had the scans done, and so all I could read was reports, and they really wanted to see what was going on themselves. So I was sent down, and they did the CT scan. So multiple deposits, and right now they did a biopsy yesterday afternoon of the 2-inch tumor, or 6 centimeter tumor. They want to see if it's the same type of cancer or if it's a different cancer. So right now we're waiting for just all the test results. They had also sent my tumor that was pulled in January off for testing to see if there are markers in there that would show that I would be a good candidate for immunotherapy. So right now it's just a waiting game. So if I do immunotherapy, it's the same schedule as my chemo once every 3 weeks for, it's like a 32-minute infusion. I mean, there's less side effects than from chemo, but I'd have to do 4 rounds of that. So you're talking 12 weeks before they would scan again to see where we're at. But um, if I'm not a candidate, if the markers don't show up, then I would just resume chemo on a different regimen. Um, we don't really know. My sugar has been out of control. This is, partly my fault and partly my caregiver's fault, because I wasn't getting my insulin regularly. Um, and after surgery, it's been a really rough road, and most days I'm in bed, and I really don't have the energy, the strength, anything to, it's very hard. I don't think well, I don't remember these things. So, anyways, you know, a large part of this is my fault. It's on me because I do have a mouth, and, you know. Anyways, so they think one of the reasons chemo failed, if it's the same cancer, is because if your sugar is not controlled, the chemo won't work. But she says it's very odd for it to come back in the same area like it did. So that was why they biopsied yesterday, to verify if it's the same type of cancer. Um, there's still a lot of options, and they'll find the best. I mean, I'm at one of the best hospitals in the country for treatment, so they'll find the best option. The part of the problem right now is we sold our house that we're living in, and actually in less than a week, actually a week today, we'll officially be out. Today is Saturday, so next Saturday we won't even be here. We'll just have cleaners here cleaning the house out. I'll be staying with my niece, my husband, my daughter, and our nephew. It's my best friend's son, but we call him our nephew. They are going to go to Texas to take our belongings there, and then my husband will come back, and we'll be staying with a family member. I don't know that he'll stay the whole time because there's things that need to be done in Texas, but he wants to come back. So it's a lot going on. Emotionally, I did not take the news very well. And part of that is because, they told me, because I was like, it's my fault. And she says, no, don't think that. There's the chance that even if your sugar had been controlled, this would have happened. We're just telling you that when it's not controlled, the chemo doesn't work as effectively. So, yeah, I'm hoping it's the same. Now, the new growths, it's one tumor that's good size, the 6 centimeters, and the rest, it's just throughout the abdomen. They do see multiple deposits. The good news is that all my organs look okay. They don't see any type of cancer in any of my vital organs. And my kidney functions, liver, everything else looks to be functioning fine. The blood clot is to be expected when you're on chemo. And so, yeah. So I'm on a blood thinner. Now I'm on a Lovenox to thin my blood out. One of the good things that came from this, as I talked to them, and this is where they're really good at, they were trying to find out why I wasn't getting my insulin or taking it regularly, and I basically told them, I've been in so much pain with my legs and my hands. I've been in so much pain that I'm asleep on, edibles. I'm down like 90% of the time, I'm not coherent. And so, they listen. And so they actually sent the palliative care team in, which was good to meet with them because, if this does go south, they'll already know what it's going to take to make me comfortable. But for now, to make me comfortable while I go through this process to try to save my life, um, we established, a pain care plan for now. And so they have put me on methadone. I'll actually be off it here for the next couple of days while the authorization goes through for my medical. My medical has to have a pre-auth and it's got to be approved. But once it's on file, it's on file. And, so... and I'll be taking that. And that actually, the methadone with the gabapentin, I probably had the best night's rest the other night with no leg pain and no pain whatsoever. I also had done, they actually had sent an acupuncturist that works in the hospital, had come in and 2 days in a row and did acupuncture, which really helped too. So I'm home now. So right now we're just waiting on the pathology to come back to see if I'm a good candidate. And then they have to wait really for the pathology on the second biopsy to make sure that everything's still good. It's the same cancer. She says there is a slight that it could be a different cancer, and that's concerning because, the cancer I had, I don't know if I say it right, but adenocarcinoma is not aggressive. So, if it's a different cancer, the worry is, is it aggressive, non-aggressive? What type is it? So, yeah, it's concerning. We're basically basing it, we'll say since February or end of February to now, it grew 6 centimeters, this tumor. So, I've only had the bleeding. Well, I've been having issues for a while, but, at least 7 weeks, 8 weeks. So I did not do chemo yesterday. And so we'll go from there. So in either case, I'll have at least another 12 weeks of some sort of therapy. If I'm not a candidate for the immunotherapy, then I will be doing chemo. And I believe radiology was also going to take a look at the case to see if they think radiation to that one spot, it would only be for the tumor. Everything else are just really what they call deposits. So they're just small areas of cancers, but they're not tumors. So chemo would kill them. A lot of the deposits I had the first time around were knocked out with chemo, 4 rounds of chemo. So, and then what wasn't was taken out. So, yeah, scary. So, like, everything's packed up. I had to go buy my husband packed, like, all my test kits and everything, so I had to go buy new stuff because, he didn't want to go through boxes. But, yeah. So, I'm spending the next 2 days here. Because I gotta finish packing my stuff, what's gonna go. I think my husband needs to just start running some stuff over to my niece's house so we don't have to do it in like one big trip. Like my chair and my walker and just stuff like that. Yeah. So that's kind of what's been going on. Chemo from the last vlog to now was extremely rough. huge difference in how it was before surgery versus after. I've never really recovered my strength and my stamina from before the surgery to after. Taking longer after chemo to recover, a lot longer to recover. And, just as I was feeling well, it's time for chemo again. So right now, I'm going to look to the positive and enjoy this break from chemo. um, because, at least I'll have some energy. I have a lot of follow-up appointments I have to do this week. I have to follow up with palliative care. I have to follow up with with my gynocs, and I got to follow up with um, the endocrinologist, and just, they sent me home with my discharge papers. There's a lot of things I have to do this week. So I told my husband, I need to be out of here by Monday so that I'm somewhere stable where there's not a lot going on, and he doesn't have to worry about making sure all, my niece can take care of me, and he can do what he needs to do this week. So a little disappointed. I really want it to be in Texas, now, or at least in a couple of months, and to know that it may be 6 months. It could be less, if I respond well to this. But in either case, 12 rounds of immunotherapy is 36 weeks. So it's, every 3 weeks. So 12 rounds, 36 weeks, something like that, every 3 weeks. So it's like 8 months. But again, after 4 rounds, they'll check. So if I don't respond to the immunotherapy, I would go to chemo, and then do 4 rounds of chemo. So, it would be 8 weeks on the onset of that. If 4 rounds of chemo don't work and they still show it's growing, I don't know what I'm going to want to do. Because there's not much else they can do for that. So if after 4 rounds of chemo we don't show a response, I may not continue. I may just decide to do hospice and just enjoy whatever time I have. Because if chemo's not going to slow it down, I don't want to be, continuing something that's not helping. But that's the dark end of things, and I don't think it's going to go that route. If it is the same cancer, it should be responsive, providing that I maintain my end of things and keep myself healthy, keep myself on track, make sure I'm taking my insulin. So yeah, my stomach is a little bloated today. And I don't know if it's from the cancer. This is kind of pre-cancer. My friend Nancy brought me home. She's like, no, you're way smaller. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. So yeah, it was really weird being hospitalized and not being able to have anyone there with me at all. And I was in a private room, so they would have allowed my husband or, someone to stay with me. And, my poor dog, she was so happy. She piddled herself. She was so happy to see me. And she is right here next to me. She looks like a dog I found on the street right now. She needs to be groomed so bad. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I kind of went off on my oncologist when we were in the emergency room, and she threw that at me that, they found more cancer. And I'm like, 8 weeks ago, I told you, I called in that there was a problem, that something was wrong 8 weeks ago. And it took that long for them to, they didn't order the CT scans until after my last chemo 3 weeks ago, which had to, they wanted it done there, but my insurance said no. And so they sent it to the local Grove Imaging here where I went. And, then I schedule it, and it's, 2 weeks out, and then, so, but still, that's 4 weeks, that they could have done something and didn't. And she understood what I was saying. She understood why I was angry. It wouldn't have made a difference. The cancer still would have been there, but I feel like we would have been, 3 weeks ahead of the game versus where we're at now. But she herself, she sees all my results. She sees results that I don't see, and so she knew there was a problem. So I think she was just hoping to see where it would go. But once we got the CT scans, back, and they realized there was a problem, so. So yeah. So I have a lot of things to follow up on and to get done this week. I don't know. I have to read the paperwork and of when they want me to follow up. But in any case, the cancer has returned. We don't know yet if it's the same or if it's different. It has not metastasized to any of my organs, which is a blessing. But it is in my abdomen, and that's not good. They did want to do yesterday, when they biopsied, they actually wanted to put me under general anesthesia and take me into the operating room and put a camera into my bladder, and make sure it wasn't in there because I had a lot of problems. But we're thinking now the bladder issue might have been due to the sugar issue. So, because it has not been a problem since they hospitalized me and got it under control, even though that's not what I was hospitalized for. I was hospitalized for the blood clot. So I came home, and I have to give myself the Lovenox shots, and I don't like putting it in my stomach. My stomach has become very sensitive, even with my insulin, where I would normally do my insulin shots. So I'm going to have them do it in my arm, and my niece, or, my nephew or my husband. And I have to take the Lovenox twice a day, so 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. And then, my regular meds, and I have the gabapentin. It's kind of odd because they gave me 300 milligrams. I'm supposed to be taking 600. That's what they've been giving me. In fact, I take another pill because I took one in conjunction with the other one I told you guys about. Shoot, see, I can't think. With the other pain med, the methadone. Sorry, I'd never heard of it before, so people I know were like, oh, they give that to heroin patients. One of the things I talked about with the palliative care when they came in is that I don't ask for the pain, and I don't take it regularly, because I was scared of getting addicted. And he said that for them to formulate a care plan, they need to know what they're looking at, so that if I'm in pain, to let the nurse know I'm in pain, and they can figure it out, what to do. Now, the methadone, I'm on half. It's 2.5 milligrams, but I take half of that. So I have to cut the pill in half. Oh, I gotta get a pill cutter. So, and the palliative care doctor said that the methadone actually works better for all the nerve damage that's happening and the issues that I'm experiencing. Because I explained, it's the burning, tingly, ants crawling, but I also feel like my legs are being crushed, and that's like the worst sensation. The first night when they actually gave me the methadone, that same day I had the acupuncture done. So I had the acupuncture. They gave me 600 milligrams of the gabapentin, and then they gave me the half a dose of the methadone, and that was the best night's sleep ever. I mean, I felt no pain in my legs. And I think I've said before in my past vlogs that I had pain problems in my legs before the cancer diagnosis and before I ever started chemo. And they think it's autoimmune related, but I had stopped the testing for that because one of my nieces was killed, and so I had canceled the appointment I had, um, not just with an endocrinologist, but also to go get a certain test done, to go somewhere with her mother and sister for her. So, and then we buried her, and then like 2 days later, I was in the emergency room and I found out I had cancer. So I never really went back to check, but I explained to the palliative care doctor what an ER doctor had basically told me, because I had a problem with my arm, and it ended up being not my tendon, but the nerve itself was inflamed, and he said that that's not normal. And then he was asking me a bunch of questions, and he says, it sounds like you have an autoimmune. You tell your primary care and get checked. So, that eventually needs to be done so we could figure out what it is. And autoimmune disorders do run on my paternal line. And I think my mom's side maybe too. She's got some cousins, so, but we'll see. So, yeah, and then, it's been a rough spring. We had a lot of death in the family. And emotionally, I'm still trying to work through that. I wasn't necessarily close with a lot of them, but I'm very sensitive, and, I feel bad for the family that, that's just how I am. I feel bad for my aunt and uncles and my cousins, and, that have lost these family members. So I don't know if that's a curse or a blessing to but, and then this. So it's the worst time to be hospitalized for anyone, whether you have cancer or you're having a baby, anything, because nobody can come in. And I just spent 4 days and, no visitors, no nothing. You can't have anyone in there. And in the cancer ward, you can't get flowers or anything. They're very, very strict. You have to cleanse yourself daily with antibacterial wipes, and it's insane. So, but yeah, and that's the update. Um, I'm just going to look to, I may not get to go to my house now, but it's there, and when this is all over, that'll be like my blessing, to just go and relax and, probably get a job, because I can't not do nothing. But, and I gotta look into, I haven't worked. I worked for I had just gone back to work, and I worked for 5 weeks before I got the cancer diagnosis, something like that. And prior to that, I hadn't worked in 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So they told me to look into Social Security to see about what I can do. I'm going to have to get my medical records and get the paper that states that I'm disabled, because, and go from there. Yeah, it just sucks. Because if this is going to be prolonged, I would just get the Medicaid and get supplemental, and, I'd have the Medicaid. Well, what I have now would still be in play unless I leave California. I'm just thinking long term, but I don't know. I can get private insurance, but I would need to have some sort of income at some point to, continue paying for it. Well, it can get expensive. So, yeah. I know I've been rambling a lot. My mind is kind of everywhere right now. Um, just a lot going on. This opal. I'm just petting my dog. So, yep. It was really. Oh, I have a good story though. So, it was like a soap opera in the oncology ward last night. So I'm not sure what happened to this female patient. Obviously, she's a cancer patient though, and um, I could hear her yelling. I kept the door shut because I was right at the nurse's station, right across from it, so it was fairly loud. And I told my nurse, can we shut the door, and I'll call you if I need you, and if I'm not feeling well. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. But I could hear all the yelling, and then uh, the nurse's assistant had come in to do my blood pressure and all that, and she had left the door open, not all the way, but cracked. And so I could hear, and you can hear the nurses trying to calm this person down, and then I'm checking myself out, and she's like basically leaving, and they're all, wait, let us take your IV out, She basically walked out of the unit. Now, if you're there, you have cancer and you're sick. You're not. They don't just admit us there unless there's something going on. So maybe she didn't want to get help. I don't know. I can understand that, everything we go through. Um, but I'm trying to maintain hope and positivity, and it's not over until they tell me it's over. Uh, it's not over until they tell me there's nothing else we can do. And, prayers, please pray that this new cancer, is just the same as what they already pulled out, because that means that I can recover from this. Um, I can get past this. And one of the cool things about vlogging is some of you have written me about your cancer stories, and I cry when I read them because I feel bad. That some of you have told me you're terminal, and I feel bad. You're probably more okay with it than I am. I just feel bad because I know that everyone has someone they're going to leave behind, and uh, even if those of us who have the cancer are okay with death, we kind of have to be, we have to accept our, mortality and deal with that, because, eventually that may be the outcome, even if we don't want it to be. You need to at least address that. Um, but, family members, they kind of don't, and they stay in denial, or, so I think, they take our deaths hard. It's very sad. Anyone who dies and you leave the ones behind, it's very hard for those of us left behind. So, yeah. But it's kind of nice. And they gave me paperwork for, I guess, out of USC here in LA. Um, they give for cancer patients 8 free counseling sessions for both you and your partner. And they also gave me paperwork for another place that will set you up with, not just you up, but your spouse up with like a buddy, someone who's either been through this or dealt with it, to kind of help you get through it. Uh, I don't know so much that I need it, my vlogs and stuff, and I post a lot on my social media. That's a way for me to let out. That's how I'm dealing with it. But, my husband has been very shut down, and just kind of to himself. Uh, you know, I And I understand that's part of his personality. Um, a lot of people around me don't like it, but, you know, I understand. My husband actually lost both his parents to cancer. And he doesn't deal well with loss at all. He's not very outgoing. He His life is mainly myself and our children, and not much else. He does have friends, but they don't live close, and so it's different for him. Oh boy, poor thing. Everything's so long on her. She's big room. She was supposed to be room today, and excuse me. I'm so sorry. She doesn't want me touching her. She wants to sleep. Um, they canceled. The groomer called out sick. So, but yeah, so I'm home. My house is kind of empty. We've been packing, getting ready to move, and okay, all right, fine, I'll leave you alone. So all that's been going on, and he's, I've had, was in the hospital. Uh, Another good thing. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling. Just to let it out, just to let you guys know the whole thing. The nurses kept laughing because I would order the same thing. So the first morning I had eggs and toast and some fresh fruit. But the eggs are powdered and they're gross. I was like, ew. So then when they called me later, when I placed my lunch order, I had, I got turkey. No, I got turkey for lunch and broccoli. Or did I get turkey and broccoli? What did I have for lunch? No, I got a sandwich. I got an egg salad sandwich with some fruit and, and a side salad. And I pretty much ordered that every day for lunch. And so my nurses were laughing because I would get the same thing for dinner, not that, but I would order turkey with broccoli. And then the first night I got mashed potatoes. They gave me mashed potatoes. And then the next couple of nights I ordered it with the sweet potatoes, mashed sweet potatoes. And then today I got the same thing, the sandwich, but I got the baked Lays, which I only put like 2 chips in each sandwich, and then I didn't eat the rest. And so the nurses were all laughing. They're like, "You don't order anything different ever." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I know I like this, and I don't know if I'm gonna like some of the other stuff. So I'll just stick with what I know and eat what I know, and that's it." So they kept laughing at me. They thought that was funny. I'm like, I know. And so yeah, that was it. That's pretty much the extent. Uh, could hear a lot of ambulances coming in. I jinxed the emergency department when I was there because I was like, you guys are dead. And the guy was like, no, don't say that. And no sooner than I said that, within like 5 minutes, another nurse comes in. Oh God, it's filling up out front. And the emergency room, like, there's hardly any chairs in there because, we're social distancing. So there used to probably be like 60 or 70 chairs, maybe more in there. And there was probably like 20 chairs in the whole emergency room because you can't even go in there until you've checked in outside at the triage area where they have the thermometers and they question you and they check you in there. And then when they're ready for you to go in, you can go sit inside once you've been checked in and given a mask and all that. And then you're taken to the back. So usually they triage you inside. There's this little room, but they're not even doing it at. You're being triaged outside under a canopy, just outside the emergency room. So I went from there straight in, outside, straight into the back to the first area. So if you've never been to this hospital, you check in and you go to the first little room where they do your blood pressure, and the first nurse asks you a bunch of questions. And then once they're ready to see you in the back, it's another room with just 3 beds, 3 little chairs. And that's where they ask you more questions, and the emergency room doctor sees you. And, and then from there, if you don't need to be admitted, like further, if they can figure out what's wrong with you there, they'll let you go. But if not, like me, they knew I had to be hospitalized, so they sent me to a room in emergency. And the emergency department's huge, so there's different sections of the emergency room. You can go left out. That room opens up to it. Then you walk out a door and you can go left or right. Both left and right, they're emergency areas. So different areas. So I went right. I usually always go left, but I went right this time and went into the actual, basically like the critical area, where they're watching you. And so I went into there to bed 6, and then from there they got the IV placed and whatever, and then my oncology team came down. So basically broke the news to me that, where I lost my cool. And then from there, it was probably about an hour from the time they came down to see me and told me, you're going to go up to the 7th floor to oncology wing, and that I was actually taken. They had to get my room ready, obviously. So I was taken, and that night, I didn't have I was able to just go in my room and get some rest. And I did sleep good that night. Kind of. They come in, you don't get a lot of sleep because they constantly coming in to check your blood. Or luckily for me, I had the port in. I still got my Band-Aid. And so if I'm sleeping this way, they can just access the port and they just take the blood from there, which they don't have to take it from my hand. So that's super easy, which I usually laid on my side so she still had access to it. And she would just come pull my blood because they take your blood every day. So my magnesium is still down. This has been an issue since surgery. I remember when I was getting magnesium in the hospital then. It's been an issue, and she laughed at when they came this morning, they were like, we thought maybe you just weren't eating enough greens or something, but, we've given you 3 in 3 days, and it's not rising. It's not going where we expect it to go. So I'm probably going to have to take magnesium tablets just so I don't go too low. I mean, it's not super low, but it's low enough that where they don't want it. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's just been a pretty long vlog, and there's a lot that's gone on since surgery. I probably just, the tip of it. A lot's gone on. Emotionally right now, I'm okay. I do have my moments. But, God is in control, and ultimately, I'll either beat this or I won't, and I'm not going to dwell on I won't, or I can't, or whatever. I'm just not going to dwell on that right now and worry about it. I'm not saying that I never do, but that's not my main focus right now. But, I'm human, and I do go down that road sometimes, and I think anyone who's in this position may think that sometimes. So, yeah. I will try to vlog again, maybe for my new digs, but a lot of it, I mean, obviously, as I've explained, I've not had the energy. And it's not a lot since I don't edit these. I just straight upload them to you guys from my iPad. But on the other end of that, it still takes energy. And sometimes I don't like what I record. Because I did record my last chemo session, just a little bit of it. And I had recorded after that. And I just never uploaded them. I was going to splice it all together, but, that takes work. And I'm not for doing extra things right now. So, yeah. So maybe one day this week I will, vlog. I should have more energy since, I'm not going to be doing anything for at least 5 days or a week, more than a week, because, once they have an answer, they got to get all the scheduling coordinated. And that takes time. So I hope everyone is well, and if you're going through cancer, whether you're just starting your journey, whether you're midway through, if you're just starting, you know, God be with you, and just stay positive. And if you're in pain, tell them, and, you know, have a good support system around you. And don't be surprised if people you were once close with barely come around. People just do not know how to deal with or what to say to you. I think they make, you know, them feel uncomfortable, but, you know, don't hold it against them. If you're midway through your journey, keep fighting. Don't give up. And, you know, if you're like me and just getting, you know, what we see as bad news, just keep fighting. Be grateful for every day you're given. If you're dying from this and you know you're terminal, enjoy each day. Make every memory count. You know, you're more aware than probably most people how precious this life is. And, you know that you're going to be with God soon. And that in itself is, I don't think there's anything more wonderful than that, to be in our Maker's arms, you know, near Him. So, and that's it, guys. I will try to vlog again. I know I keep saying that. Sorry. And that's it. I hope everyone has a good, blessed weekend and a great week.